G'day you 12, welcome back. Today we're looking at lesson 8 in Buddhism. What I want you to do to start off with is these two sort of revision questions here based off last lesson's work. Write them and answer them in your book and I'll give them a look. With today's lesson, we're going to look at the impact of technologies and globalisation on continuity and change within Buddhism itself. So, without further ado, we'll look at globalization first and then technology, and then you're going to do some guided meditation. Have fun. So the impact of globalization, okay? It's been fairly big in Buddhism. So ideologies of various belief systems have been spread by various methods of globalization in general. So this is the same for Buddhism as well. Through conquest, so military conquest, through missionary activity, like what the Dalai Lama does, in terms of missionaries are people that travel the world spreading their faith and beliefs. Mass migration, so that's partly why Australia's taken up Buddhism a lot more, due to the mass migration and close proximity we have to the Asian countries. And mass media and technology. The impact that has in spreading beliefs and ideas, especially around Buddhism, is also part of the reason why it's becoming more popular. So that's basic things from like websites to information about it. The Buddhist text being translated to English, all of those sorts of things has helped it become a globalized belief system, and why it's now one of the world's most popular. So Buddhism itself will continue to be globalized because, like we looked at last lesson, it's so open to change and it doesn't rely on a particular set of dispositions. So what I mean by that, there's not a particular set of rules that govern how it has to act. It's very open to changing and adapting those rules depending on the country and culture it is. It's not set in stone. Anyway, I won't get into that. So Buddhism has spread rapidly and become popular through the promotion in the media of both its doctrines and its leader. So example, in point, the Dalai Lama. Here's a picture of him here with Western popular figure, Russell Brand. And you can see, he's a pretty happy guy. But again, the impact that globalization is having here, you've got two people from two different cultures being able to meet together and talk about Buddhism and their philosophy. It's beginning to become popular in the Western countries, particularly when young people begin to travel to Asia. There was a huge influx in the 60s and 70s by the counterculture youth at the time that got fed up with sort of Western doctrine and religious ideologies, where they came back and embraced the idea of Buddhism. And again, that's partly the reason why a lot of Eastern philosophies have spread around the world. A lot of Western culture sees it as like an antidote to the issues that we have in our society to do with things like technology and a whole bunch of other stuff. So again, these are all examples of the impact that globalization has had. So these are all solid examples you can use to answer this sort of area of the dot point. In a similar fashion, the extensive immigration to Australia from Southeast Asia has globalized the Mahayana form of Buddhism, which I talked about a bit there. And then lastly, because it's so adaptable and accommodating to different cultures, and because it doesn't seek to evangelize or convert you, it's seen as really non-threatening. It's very much a your choice thing. They'll sort of give you the ideas of Buddhism and you can just take from it what you will. Like, they're happy if you take one aspect of it away from you. They don't believe you have to adopt and swallow the whole eightfold path, like all of the 5 precepts. Even if you're just doing one of them, they're happy because that's better than you were yesterday. You've become more enlightened than you were yesterday from that one little action. So that again helps it spread globally because it's non-threatening, it's non-judgmental, it's not gonna. And you think about it, when you're trying to look at people's core ideologies and beliefs, Those sorts of things are really ingrained in people. If you start to try upset that too much, you're going to have a lot of resistance. So the idea it's non-threatening, I think, is really important. It also sits really well with the advances of science and technology, because it accepts the change. It doesn't change, like Buddhism doesn't change when science changes. Like it just adapts to it. And yes, you can sort of see that as a change, but I think the idea that Buddhist itself and the core values it has, it doesn't conflict with science and its advancements, I think is a better way of putting it. So that's sort of the impact globalization has had in general. If we move on here, we've got the impact of technology. So it's pretty straightforward here. Buddhism itself, the Mahayana strand anyway, has little problem with technology, providing your identity isn't attached to it, which may be an issue for some of you, the amount that you're on your phones. And they don't have a problem if there's mindful use of it. So if it doesn't cause harm to other living beings, or it's used in a way where it can help people, let's say again, like technology in the idea of medicine, if it's helping sick people, it's a good thing. But if it's being used for, say, things like drugs where that has bad effects, then it's not mindful use. So that's sort of how they would view it there. Obviously, Theravada would have conflict with that. They would probably say the risk of becoming attached is too strong, that they would just avoid it. But Buddhism itself does benefit from developments in communication and transport. So, for example, with communication and technology, things like social media and websites, that can help them spread knowledge about their philosophies and practices. You can see here, there's an app here, the Buddhist World Directory. You can download that, and that's got all the Eightfold Path. It's got cool little app messages for you, like it gives you a message of the day and things like that. So a lot of those technologies there are really helpful in terms of the impact it's had on Buddhism. It's actually enabling them in some ways to spread their belief system. And if the Mahayana strand is enlightenment through the helping of others, well then that's just a win-win. Similar to the websites idea, but Buddhist teachers can now travel the world. So you've got things like the Dalai Lama obviously using technology of planes and things like that, and YouTube videos and things like that, to spread his message a lot easier. So that's definitely an example there of the impact it has on technology, the impact technology has on Buddhism. This one here, communicating online through various forms of media. This means that Buddhists have acquired followers from all different countries around the world, not just in traditional Buddhist countries. So the idea that you can engage with Buddhism through the media of technology anywhere you are in the world means that the faith of Buddhism is accessible to everyone around the world that has access to technology. It's not just restricted to the traditional Buddhist countries. This second last dot point here as well, there's been books, ebooks, TV programs, films, documentaries. All of this has been enabled through the impact of technology, which has allowed Buddhist teachings again to reach a globalized audience as well. Again, there are a few ethical problems with the development of medical technology. Again, the core rule of Buddhism, as long as it doesn't create unnecessary suffering for everyone, it's fine. But if it is used to create suffering, so things like weapons manufacturing, and any related industry that would cause dukkha, being pain, then of course they're against that impact of technology 100%. Very big on that. So even technology like any technology that brings suffering, so guns, any technology that used the wrong way can lead to suffering, so things like drug manufacturing, they would be very much against. What I want you to do now, so that's sort of the impact of technology and globalization in a nutshell. A lot of these two go hand in hand. Again, we know that from the definition in our syllabus of globalization, that a lot of globalization relies heavily on technology itself. So you would probably never get a question where those two are isolated, and in the event they are, you can talk about both of them anyway because they're so linked, so it doesn't really matter. What I want you guys to do now, if you have time, you don't have to do this, but you can click on this YouTube link and do a guided meditation by a monk. I'm going to do that right now. Nice way to finish the week's worth of lessons, just to chill out. Quite a nice guy. So click that if you want to do some guided meditation. If not, hope you have a great week.